Right. Uh, Today, the video that I'm making, this is the video which is an intent of making a video to provide an idea over the developer as well as the tester roles in the field of Guidewire. Because as in when I get regular inquiries from different people regarding Guidewire developer roles at the same time tester. Of course, we have other BA roles also as well, but majorly from the technicals point of view, at the same time from the testing point of view, many people have some uh, require some knowledge. Okay, so what kind of skills that I want to acquire to become a Guidewire developer, or what kind of skills that I want to become a tester, etc. Right. So this is a career orientation or an awareness video I'm making, so that many of the people might be utilized of this. Now, first of all, let us understand about the Guidewire is an application which majorly used across property and casualty insurance companies like P&C domain. We call it as in short. Property casualty insurance domain is all about commercial vehicles, property, personal property, at the same time, workers' compensation, home insurance, right? So these are all comes under property and casualty insurance sector. To manage business operations in property and casualty insurance, there are different applications we have, something like Guidewire, Duck Creek, Majesco, right? So different applications are being used to manage policy administration. Either it can be managing the policies, this it can be creation or cancellations, renewals of the policies or something, or else performing some underwriting, all that stuff. That is one category. Second, billing. Billing means when there is any new policies created, new premium, or it can be renewals, or it can be claim processing. Means if there is any customer has uh, initiated the claim, right? So based upon the incident happened and all. So it's called FNOL, which is called first notice of loss. Based on the claim processing, adjudication and settlements will takes place. So these are the business activities in property casualty insurance domain. Usually we get. One is on the policy administration side, as I mentioned. Second, about the billing, at the same time, claims. We have even product designer, right? So data hub, there were many, but majorly these three. So many organizations are planning for transformation. Transformation means they are using some old legacy policy or billing or claims applications, old traditional legacy applications they were using. Now they were in a stage of planning to migrate from old legacy systems to the new Guidewire, because Guidewire has an advantage where Guidewire is a cloud application, cloud environment, which doesn't need any kind of infrastructure, or any physical infrastructure need not be maintained. Every infrastructure can be virtual infrastructure. Application data, everything will be on cloud, so that they don't need to maintain anything physically, because that infrastructure cost, investment, operational cost will get reduced for the insurance companies. The reason many of the companies, one of the reason is many of the companies are transforming to the Guidewire. In the process of transformation, they require different roles, right? So the one is about the role of a business analyst. Let me explain this also to have a full-fledged idea, right? So business analyst role. Next, we can see an architect role. Next, we can see a developer and as well as tester role. So these are the four major roles that you see in any organization whenever there is any job profiles that we apply. So these are the four major roles you see. One is about the BA role, second architect, developer as well as the tester role. Now, business analyst role majorly focusing on the functional side. Normally, of course, now and then some kind of technical knowledge is becoming inevitable, but majorly functional side, I can say. Okay, majorly functional side, which is nothing but UI, right? So understanding the user interfaces. So knowing about if there are any changes that are to be made, because any application in Guidewire application, normally there are two stages. One is configuration stage, Second is called integration stage. Configuration means you are configuring the application according to your business rules, organizations, etc. Integration means you are integrating one application with another application or multiple applications or among applications, one to one, one to many, or many to many. This is called integration. So integration for what? If you want to develop a communication between two different applications, you require integration to be made. So for that, we use some API, something like RESTful API web services. Okay, all these will be used. When it comes to the configuration, understanding over the business rules, government mandates. At the same time, understanding what are the different changes that are to be made in the user interface, which is called PCF, page configurations and all that. So that can be done. So as a BA, functional side we focus more on normally. Majorly business analyst will be from the functional point of view, wherein to know about the user interface of either it can be policy center or it can be billing center or it can be claim center. Okay, it can be of any module, any one or two or three of their choice. So they must be having a detailed understanding over the functional side of it. Means, for example, if you've taken some policy center application, how the policy can be created, right? So how account can be created, policy created, how to update activity patterns, how to update underwriting rules. All these things we need to learn. We need to have an idea. That flow process you must be aware of. The same thing even for billing center, even for claim center also, right? So how a process of an application will work, right? That workflow process you must be familiar with. So when there is any changes in requirements from the customer point of view, from the user point of view, if anything they will ask you, so that being a BA, we understand this much better. So if you have that knowledge, so that it is easy for you to understand. So whatever the necessary changes and all, everything can be documented, or you're writing some epics and user stories and you're documenting and you're communicating to the development team. That's what generally the role of a BA. Majorly functional side, but some kind of technical knowledge is becoming inevitable nowadays. So this is what BA role is. Next, architects. Architects are the people who create a technical roadmap. Who create a technical roadmap. Okay, this is what generally the role of an architect stands for. Architects are the people who develop architecture for the project. Generally, different architectures, majorly two. One is about enterprise architecture and solution architecture. Solution architecture means if you want to develop a particular solution for a particular project, let's say we want to develop some policy management system for one of the organization, how this can be implemented, what are all the solution that we provide and how this can be integrated, how business architecture, system applications, data architecture were integrated and how this can be implemented. So that's what we call it a solution architect. Solution architect is a technical role, I can say, majorly of technical role, because based upon the non-functional or non-functional requirements which business analysts have given, non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements details you about scalability, availability, reachability, performance of the application, characteristic, and how application should behave. To explain that, non-functional requirements will be defined by the BA. Based on that, generally, what is system designing? At the same time, in the system designing, high-level designs and low-level designs. Again, high-level design, majorly what are the components and how this can be integrated. When it comes to the low-level design means how many programs that we are writing, right? What algorithms that we use here, what design patterns that we are using. Everything will be part of that. So this is all about the architect role. Architects are the people who develop architecture for the project. Next, developers are the people who need to develop code, develop the logic for the functionalities. Okay, functionalities that is defined by the, which is defined by the BA. For example, page configuration, you want to make some changes on the page. Some fields you want to add, some fields you want to edit, update. Or data model, because whatever the data models we have, data table. In this data table, you want to add some new existing columns or rows to the existing ones. Or if you want to add any kind of data fields to the existing one, or if there is any kind of messaging or workflow creations that are to be configured. Everything will be done by the developer. Developer, more or less, like for a developer, is a technical role where you need to have a knowledge over the developer studio. Either it can be PC, BC, or CC, anyone. Okay. Because developer studio knowledge is required. So some companies may ask, need to have knowledge over only configuration. Some people will ask integration. Some people ask both. Right. That's a different story. So technical knowledge. So technical knowledge completely, majorly. Some part of user interface knowledge will be advisable. I always say that. Some functional knowledge is required. At the same time, development knowledge is more of logic writing, logic and all, wherein we use some Gosu programming for this. It is basically worked on Java virtual machine in Java only. So Gosu programming and all, whatever the code we write, everything will be part of developer. So as far as the skill sets, as I mentioned, you must be good with the configuration and integration, right? So you must be knowing about the Gosu programming. You must be knowing about XML. You must have some knowledge over web services, some RESTful API, right? So all these things you must be good and familiar. Okay, all these things you must be good and familiar. This is what generally developer roles are. Developer roles majorly. I'm combining both configuration integration. If it is only configuration and all, how the page configuration can be done, data model configurations, workflow configurations, right? So batch processing, all these things part of configuration. When it comes to the integration means you must be having some knowledge over API, right? So RESTful API, XML, web services. That sort of understanding is required. So for a developer role, I mean to say that to people who are interested towards the development side, people who wants to make the career out of technical side and all, developer role is more suitable. Whether they are learning only policy center, billing center, or claim center, of their choice. Next, tester role, right? So who tests the functionalities? Testing the functionalities. At the same time, user interface design testing, at the same time, API. All these things you must be familiar with. This is what generally Guidewire tester role is. Means you need to have a detailed understanding about the functional testing, the functionalities and all, everything that you must be aware of. Because both manual and automation, both manual and automation testing is mandatory for a tester role here, preparing some test cases, test plans, test scripts, all that. Next, user interface testing. For that user interface testing, we are using Cucumber, all that stuff, Karate framework and all. For API and all that, we are using some Postman API. So apart from the user interface knowledge, as a business analyst, you must be having some knowledge over the testing the particular code or something. Code testing you need to be done, right? So all these things you must be familiar with because people who are coming from the testing side, people who are interested towards learning from the testing side, advisable can go for testing. So these are the four roles you see. Business analyst majorly on the functional side, the people who have decent communication skills, who are interested towards functional side and not interested towards completely technical, then BA is preferable. Architects, people who are experienced in development, right, will become architects. So that directly you cannot become an architect. You must have some at least not less than 10 years of experience in the field of guideware development and all. Then you can move on to the architect role. That's how it was. Developer, it is a starting career who are interested for programming provided. Okay, interested towards programming, coding. Then developers are more preferable. You can become a developer. People who are interested towards testing or coming from the testing background, make the career out of guideware testing, then uh, both manual and automation testing can be learned. At the same time, user interface API, code testing, everything you need to learn. Either for it can be for policy center, it can be billing center or claim center, any one, two or three of their choice. So this is where generally the understanding over the guideware roles. And this is what generally the understanding about the skill sets, everything you must be. As a BA, functional knowledge areas, there are different knowledge areas are required, right? So writing some documents, epics, user stories, all that. Architect, developing some solution architecture using different models and create some visualization of the diagrams, all that. And code, reviewing the code, everything and done by the architect. Developer, programming part, tester, testing part. So this is the overall idea over the awareness. This is an awareness video I made. So many of the people enrolls for me. Many people used to contact me regarding the requirements, training, and all that. So I want to make a video so that people will get some knowledge over this. So that based on that, they can decide themselves. Thank you.